Saw Gerrera lived most of his life as a revolutionary, fighting to bring out positive long-term change in the best ways he knew how, no matter the personal cost to himself or to others. He was born on Onderon under the rule of King Dendub. When the Clone Wars came to his homeworld, Saw watched as the king he respected was replaced by a separatist puppet. Saw and his sister Steela banded together with others who shared their opposition to the planet's change in leadership, including the son of Onderon's former senator, Lux Bonteri. The insurgents began to strike against the droid army from the shadows and captured the attention of the Jedi Council. The Jedi wanted to help the people of Onderon resist their oppressors, but the planet's legitimate alliance with the Separatists prevented the Council from sending legitimate aid. Instead, a small force of 3 Jedi and a clone captain were sent to Onderon to equip the insurgents with the training and equipment they would need to successfully fight on their own. Saw's rivalry with Bonteri made the instruction under General Skywalker difficult, but Saw gradually became a better soldier as a result. With help from the Jedi, Saw and Steela's forces infiltrated the planet's capital city and took their war to the heart of the Separatists' occupation. Their tactics of openly fighting the droids in the city caused civilians to become fearful of the rebels, something Saw struggled to understand. Steela knew that the key to their victory would be to win over the people by inspiring hope in them once more. Working with Skywalker's Padawan Ahsoka Tano, they planned to free King Dendub. Saw infiltrated the palace only to be captured before he could escape with the king, and he was subjected to brutal torture and interrogation, not dissimilar from what Saw himself would eventually do to his prisoners. The rebels managed to rescue Saw and the king before their execution, and the group escaped back into Onderon's wilds. There they engaged in a battle with separatist forces. Using armaments provided by Hondo Ohnaka, they defeated the droid army and forced Dooku to withdraw from the planet, but at a heavy cost. Steela fell to her death after a gunship Saw personally shot down crashed into the cliff that she was cornered on. Saw would forever be plagued by guilt and anger over his sister's death, and it put him on the first steps towards the man that he would eventually become. Saw continued to work with the Republic and Jedi throughout the rest of the war. He originated the codename Fulcrum for his clandestine communications with Skywalker. This moniker would later be adopted by rebel spies like Ahsoka and Cassian Andor. Despite his alliance with them, Saw and his forces on Onderon were declared insurgents immediately after the war ended and the Republic became the Empire. It became clear quickly that the fiercely protective and independent insurgent groups the Republic had trained to defend their homeworlds from the Separatists would ironically become the Empire's greatest opposition. In the days after the rise of the Empire, Governor Tarkin sent Clone Force 99, otherwise known as the Bad Batch, to Onderon to eliminate Gerrera and his people in a test of their skill and loyalty. Saw's men captured the clones and he came out to speak with them personally. Saw opened their eyes to the injustice of Palpatine's ascension to Emperor before packing up his camp and leaving Onderon behind to fight for the galaxy on a larger scale. Though the Empire would later wipe out some of the people Saw left behind on the planet, Gerrera himself was already gone. In the following 2 years, Saw came to meet a smuggler named Has Obit while aiding a resistance against Tarkin in the Salient system. Though the battle was lost, Obit connected Gerrera with an Imperial scientist named Galen Erso, who wanted to escape Coruscant with his family. Saw personally smuggled Galen, his wife Lara, and their daughter Jin to a new life at a homestead on Lamu. Galen's work for the Empire involved powering a superweapon that Saw would spend decades trying to chase down. 5 years into the reign of the Empire, Saw and his forces launched an assault on a key Imperial refinery on Kashyyyk. There, Saw met surviving Jedi Padawan Cal Kestis, and the two worked together to successfully take over the refinery. Saw delivered an inspiring speech about how hope for the Wookiees was not yet lost, but he soon made the pragmatic decision to abandon Kashyyyk and the plight of the Wookiees after the Empire struck back with greater numbers. It wasn't long after this that the Empire found the hiding place Saw had set up for the Ersos, killing Lara and forcing Galen back into servitude. Saw was able to rescue and adopt the child, Jin, taking her back to his base on Rhea, where he trained her to become his best fighter. The two quickly developed a bond, and Saw slowly included her in his efforts to fight back against the Empire. Several years later, Saw took Jyn with him to meet one of his rebel contacts, a resistance fighter named Enfys Nest, who led a group of Cloud Riders. Nest gave Saw enough coaxium to power a fleet, having acquired it from the crime syndicate Crimson Dawn with the help of Han Solo. One of the most brutal messages that Saw ever sent to the Empire came a few years later, after Jyn had grown into a teenager. Saw and his team visited the planet Inusagi, where they used flechettes to violently massacre Imperials and civilians alike at a celebratory festival, including the planet's governor. As Jyn matured, Saw became paranoid that his aggressive fighters would realize Jyn's relationship to a key Imperial collaborator and exploit her as a hostage. After being betrayed on a mission to Numidian Prime, Saw left Jyn behind in a bunker with a knife and a loaded blaster before abandoning her for what he believed to be her protection. In the following years, an increasingly angered Saw ordered the assassination of Naboo Moff Karsh Panaka. Though Panaka was one of the Emperor's closest allies, this move upset other rebel cells, who had hoped to eventually make the relatively level-headed Panaka sympathetic to their cause. Not long after, Saw led a mission to investigate the disappearance of the Geonosian race, losing his team when they were ambushed by a scared surviving Geonosian. The crew of the Ghost were sent to rescue Saw by Bail Organa, and Saw found himself once again working with the Jedi. The Spectres were put off by Saw's aggressive methods when it came to interrogating the Geonosian, though Saw was eventually persuaded to release the survivor and allow him the chance to preserve his civilization. Saw was left with nothing but questions regarding what the Empire had been up to on Geonosis, ignorant that it was actually the same superweapon project Galen Erso had been working on. Tensions between Saw and the rebels led by Organa and Mon Mothma continued to build as each side became more frustrated with the other's methods. When the alliance became formalized into a cohesive movement, Mothma issued an official censure condemning Saw's actions. Saw, in turn, considered Mothma and her rebels to be cowards, too afraid to do what needed to be done. After destroying an Imperial relay, Saw found himself once again working with the Spectres to investigate whatever the Empire was building. Stowing away on a freighter, they discovered a massive kyber crystal, which Saw ensured was destroyed. His only remaining lead was that the stormtroopers on board had mentioned the Jedha system, an ancient site known to have been a resource of kyber crystals used by the Jedi. Pursuing this, Saw relocated his people to Jedha and began to engage the Imperials aggressively there. He recruited 2 local guardians of the Wills, Baze Malbus and Imwe, to help him by providing aid to the local orphanage. Though the guardians helped his people for some time, their ties were broken after Saw double-crossed them during a mission to steal a shuttle for the orphans to flee with, intending to instead use the shuttle to destroy a Star Destroyer. As the Imperials continued to bleed Jedha dry of kyber, and Saw continued to engage them in the streets, a defecting Imperial cargo pilot named Bodhi Rook came to Jedha looking for Saw with a message from Galen Erso. Rook was apprehended by 2 tubes and brutally interrogated by Saw in person, who had become too jaded to trust the pilot on word alone. Before he was able to act on any of this, Saw's men brought him another captive, Jyn, who was working with the rebels to learn the information Rook had been sent to give Saw about the Empire's secret weapon. Saw was dismayed to learn that Jyn was still angry with him for his abandonment of her and that his cause meant nothing to her. He showed her Galen's message detailing a weakness in the superweapons reactor. As Jyn was overcome by emotion, the Empire activated that very same weapon to annihilate much of Jedha. Saw used his last moments to push Jyn into surviving and carrying this message onward, deciding that he would run no longer. As the blast overtook his hideout, Saw removed his breathing mask and uttered his final word, Stela. Jyn was successful in delivering Galen's message, and the weakness was soon used to destroy the station by Luke Skywalker. It was only a few more years until the Empire did fall, and Saw's dream for a free galaxy came true.